Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone is doing well. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button and check out some of the other videos on the channel in both 118 and 143 scales. But in today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I've touched on this topic before between die-cast and resin model cars, but this time I'm specifically talking about it from an investment point of view. I'm curious to see what you guys think on this topic, because the last time I did die-cast versus resin, it turned out to be fairly popular on the channel. Lots of comments, lots of likes, and it was a good discussion which I enjoyed doing. So I thought I'll do it again, but as I say, specifically talking about where these cars will go in terms of their value, whether resin will plummet and die-cast will go up or vice versa. I find it quite interesting, and I know that it will be quite a popular topic, hopefully, where we can get a lot of discussion in the comments section and we can talk about what everyone thinks. But let's start off with a resin model car. You guys know I've got a few resin and a few die-cast models. So I've just picked out the BBR Ferrari LaFerrari, finished in the Rosso Corsa with the red interior as well. One of my, I suppose one of my favourites in the collection. I've always been a big fan of the LaFerrari. So I just wanted to talk over some of the details that the resin model has, and let's go and then I'll go over to the die-cast collection and then talk about the pros and cons of the die-cast models. So firstly, let's talk about the resin. Now again, resin has had a lot of hate and a lot of praise over the past couple of years. Many collectors have not decided to go down the resin route just because it is a completely sealed model, so nothing opens. What you see from the base layer that's it. So you can't open the engine bay or the doors and see the interior or see more of the engine like a auto or a die-cast model would allow you to do, which is certainly a huge con and one of the major disadvantages of having a resin model. But there also are some positives and some advantages of resin, which is why I've collected quite a few over the years. Firstly, I think from an exterior point of view, they are more detailed. Just to put it into perspective, just because it's a sealed model, all these shut lines are very neat and very tidy. It is extremely realistic and extremely authentic from the real car. And again, if you compare this to a die-cast version from, I believe, Hot Wheels, who make this, the shut lines would be a bit bigger and it wouldn't be quite as realistic as the resin models. Not to say that the Hot Wheels version isn't very good, it is, but talking about it from a realistic standpoint, the resin models are a little bit better. Also, they still do use a wide variety of materials, so the interiors are very highly detailed. The tyres, the windscreen wiper have all got rubber components, and also the paintwork on the resin models, I find in my experiences, have always been second to none. Complete 10 out of 10 perfection on the paintwork and the exterior details. But that's not to say that Auto Art or some of the other die-cast versions have different paintworks. Their paintworks are still quite good, but I've always thought the gloss on these BBRs and the MR versions have always been absolutely outstanding in my eyes. But also, again, just because nothing opens on this model, people tend to think sometimes they are less expensive than the Auto Art versions. They're not. They're probably more expensive, I would say. So I would say the average resin model car would cost between $400 and $600 roughly, depending on the specification on the car. Whereas some of the die-cast versions are way cheaper. From an investment point of view, these resin models are extremely limited, which is quite good. You can make a little bit of money off the resin model cars if you buy the ones which are very limited in production, very highly desirable in terms of specification, make. Some of the classic cars tend to go up a bit more in value as well. So if you buy the right one, you can certainly make, I think, a bit of money on it. And again, this is just my experience, my advice with collecting model cars. It doesn't always turn out to be the case, but I suppose again I should mention that the most important thing is just enjoying the hobby rather than trying to make a premium on the model car that you're collecting. But let's head over to the diecast section. I'll talk a bit about my diecast models and where they're going in the market, and then we'll come back and do a conclusion. So this is primarily my diecast model car collection. You've just seen some of my resin model cars, and I just wanted to go over why diecast is generally more desirable and more collectible than their resin counterparts. Now I've done many videos on the diecast collection in the cabinet before, and if you want to see the whole collection, I'll leave a link in the description for that video. But let's talk about how these diecast models are made, the materials used, and why I think investment wise they are the better option than their resin counterparts. So diecast, these are called diecast models. Diecast refers to the specific casting method that they use to make the cars. So it tends to be pouring a molten liquid, if it's lead or if it is a certain type of alloy, commonly zinc I believe, into a mold which then produces their specific shapes, lines and styles, and then they add on lots of other different materials. So for example, if we take this Pagani Zonda Revolution, they add on the different materials, like the tyres are made from rubber, so is the windscreen wiper. All of the interior details are different. You've got carpets, you've got different types of cloth on the steering wheel and the dash. You can see the seatbelt details there as well. The seats are nicely finished in different materials, and you've got the whole model which is tampon printed in carbon fibre, in blue and black carbon fibre, which is very, very highly detailed. And you've also got the towing hook as well, which is metal. And same with all of the other models like the R, the MC12, and the or probably their flagship model, I suppose, the McLaren F1. Again, this is a die-cast model, so all of the other materials which I've just said are on this model as well. And then they've done an amazing job with this orange iconic McLaren paintwork. So these are generally, not always, but starting to be quite valuable now in terms of their rarity and where they're going on the second-hand market. I don't think many of these models will be devaluing over the foreseeable future. This is just my opinion, it's just what I think, because they're not making models like these anymore. Auto are not making any of these signature models, or any other type of manufacturer are making these types of models, so they're only going up in value. And again, this is just due to their rarity, supply and demand. Collectors find these more desirable, more collectible than their resin counterparts, and they're often limited as well. Again, even though these ones aren't limited to 1,000 pieces like some of the other auto art models, these are still limited by time, and they're fully open in die-cast models, so they do have a greater level of detail over their resin counterparts. You can open up all the sections, the doors, the engine cover, the hood, and see all of their in workings. and all of their working units. So all of these models have working suspensions. You can see all the springs and the rods working like the real car, and it's quite impressive the level of detail that Auto Art go to make it as authentic and as realistic as possible. So that's why generally these are more desirable, and specifically the I suppose the Zondas and the McLaren F1s tend to have gone up most in value. But let's go back over to the Resin collection and do a conclusion on which ones they're probably the better investment model to buy for, whether you should go Resin or Diecast. So after looking at the Diecast collection, I think in conclusion, if you're looking to buy model cars from an investment point of view, my advice, my experience would be going for Diecast. Now again, the Diecast versions, the Diecast models that I've had for some years. So I bought them new when Auto Art were making them, and now they've stopped making them anymore. They've become extremely rare, and when they become rare, they become more desirable, more collectible, more expensive, and people are willing to pay the premiums that collectors are listing them for on eBay. So the Diecast versions for me have definitely been more an investment, and I've got probably more money in my Diecast collection rather than in my Resin model car collection. But again, to counteract that, I've definitely got some Resin cars which have gone up in value, like the rare Huayra BC and the LaFerrari Aperta in gloss white, which I've had offers on before, which are way more than what I've paid for. I think you can definitely make money on the Resin cars, but it's more difficult, and you've got to be very particular on what you buy, and make sure that it is extremely limited, extremely rare in specifications, and a model car that is unique and one that you don't always see on eBay every single time that you're checking it. So that's my experience, my standpoint. It may be different for yours. I'm very curious to hear everyone's opinions in the comments below. I love having a discussion with all you guys on the topics, and I hope to do some more topics like this where we can all talk about it in the comments and come up with different ideas and different topics to do. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and there'll be plenty more videos to come. Take care.